as a programmer, we have very little control over the garbage collection process. The model is that your program should have no dealings with the garbage collector. It should be treated as an automatic process and you shouldn't want to interfere with it. However, there are some methods in the Java API that seem to have a bearing on the garbage collector. In particular, there's a method of the system class called GC. I've got on screen here the Java docs for the GC method, and you'll see it says that the method suggests that the Java virtual machine runs the garbage collection process. So it's going to tell the virtual machine to run a garbage collection process, but there's no guarantee that the virtual machine will actually do that. Running the GC method is a suggestion to the virtual machine, it's not actually a command. But let's see this method in use. There's an example project in the starting workspace for this chapter called Garbage Collection, so let's load up this project in Eclipse. I'm going to be using the Java 8 version of this project. If you're following along with me and are using Java 11, then there will be a slight difference, and I'll explain that in a moment or two. So I've opened up this project in my IDE, and the project has two classes. There's a customer class, which is very basic. It's really a wrapper around a private variable, which is of type string. And there's a constructor, a toString method, a get and a set. And there's a method to copy an existing customer. I think that was left over from a previous time I've used this particular class elsewhere in the course, but that doesn't matter. And there's a main class with a runnable main method. So I'm going to talk through what's in this method. I'm going to start with this part of the method here, which is very straightforward. We are creating an array list to store some customers and then creating 1 million new customers and adding them to that array list. Now, the idea here is that I'm trying to create lots of objects that I'm actually then going to remove, and we'll hopefully see the impact that this will have on the available memory. To find out the available memory, I'm calling a method called freeMemory, which is from the runtime class. So you can see that's here, and I'm printing out the amount of available memory at the start. Then I'm creating the customers and printing out the amount of available memory again. At that point, I'm setting my customers object, that's the list, to an empty new array list. So all of those 1 million customers that we've created, which were sitting on the heap, will now be available for garbage collection. And so immediately after I change my array list, I'm saying, let's find out how much the available memory is again. I'm then letting my application sleep for a second just to see if that makes any difference, to see again after 1 second how much available memory there is. And then we'll try and run this GC command and see if that changes the amount of available memory. Now, if you're running Java 11, you're probably going to see different results to what you're about to see when I run this. I'm running this in Java 8, and I'm going to switch to Java 11 and explain why it's different in a few moments too. So don't worry if you're getting very different results, that will all become clear. But let's run this now and see what the output looks like. Okay, so at the start, I had 250,000 kilobytes of available memory. Once the customers had been created, that went down to 219,000, and immediately after we said we are no longer referencing these customers, we lost the references, they weren't reachable from anything on the stack. That's when we changed the list to be an empty list. The memory hadn't changed. And in fact, a second later, the memory hadn't changed. But after our GC command run, the memory increased, in fact, to more than what was available at the start. So it definitely looks like in this particular instance, calling system.gc did prompt a garbage collection to take place. But remember, the GC method is a hint or a suggestion to the virtual machine, and there's no guarantee it would have done. In fact, you might have found on your machine that a garbage collection didn't take place.